Hey guys, thank you for joining in today. My name is Ed, founder of Trail Pursuit, and I'm here today with Rupert from Mountain Fuel. Rupert, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, you having a good day?
Yeah, no, it's a busy day to be fair. We've just had our double ginger bars back in stock. They keep selling out, so woke up to a lot of orders this morning. So
Yeah.
it's a,
Well, that's a good problem to have.
it is not a bad problem.
Awesome. And yeah, today we're going to be talking all things nutrition with yourselves, who are obviously sponsors of Trail Pursuit. We've got 4 weeks to go. There is lots on the go. So yeah, let's kick off. So if you can just give an intro to yourself and what Mountain Fuel does, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so we're based kind of two locations really. We're based up in the Lake District, which is where I am, and then my business partner Darren is actually based down in Wales, not too far from where the event's going to be taking place.
Awesome.
And we've kind of built the business around providing solutions for people that are kind of more than just an energy product or more than just your kind of standard off the shelf stuff. For us, our passion is nutrition. Our passion is pretty much any kind of sport. Love pretty much all of it, do a lot of different things. And for me, first and foremost, I want to enjoy what I do. Now, to enjoy it, if you fuel properly, it really does help you enjoy it, because it not only helps you mentally enjoy it more because you kind of feel stronger, you feel better, you kind of push yourself harder, but it also, like I touched on there, it helps with performance. But more importantly for me, it also helps you with your recovery. So you can train hard, you can race hard, but you recover quickly. Because I'm selfish, I want to run all the time if I can. So, I want to basically recover as quickly as I can, avoid as many injuries as I can, and do that. So we've kind of designed a range of products that, work really well alongside foods and other types of stuff, or can be used solely on their own because they're a convenient way of fueling.
And
So,
initially, how did you get into kind of creating these products? Like, what was the inspiration? Did you have a kind of nutritional background before starting,
well,
or?
yeah, no, it all originally Darren, who's ex-forces, and it's pretty much because of the lack of substantial energy provision type food that he got in the military. So when he was on certain operations, you were expected to kind of go out and perform at a high level in extreme conditions and have the energy to face combat and things like that on not sufficient kinds of fueling. So it kind of, the principle of the idea came to him from that. And then just when he kind of left the army and the build up to the army, he became a sports nutritionist, looked into it, sat down, worked with various sports scientists and came up with a basic range. And then from that, I've kind of been involved and kind of helped with that kind of keeping it to that very practical approach. So we use a kind of scientific base to how we produce everything, but it's a scientific base with the reality of how it gets used in the real world. So we kind of call it functional science. So, making sure that, we're not just using fad ingredients because they're the latest fad. We use ingredients because they work and they do a job. Now, if it happens to be, a type of ingredient that people are talking about at the moment, well, it's fine, but that's not why we use it. We use things to do a job and to do it well.
Interesting. So for like a viewer or someone watching, who's maybe new to trail running or is now beginning to think about their sports nutrition a little bit more, can you just give kind of like an opening summary of, like, I guess, why it's important and the kind of how it can improve your performance?
Joe, I think actually going back to the last Trail Pursuits event in the lakes, and we were there on the day, and we're not like a big brand, so we don't do magazine advertising, we don't throw ourselves out there. A lot of our stuff's kind of word of mouth, and we work with limited number of events that we choose to. And we're saying to people on race day, we're saying to them, here's the products, try the system. Oh, but I can't use it on race day. I'm like, well, kind of beg to differ. You know, you can, because this is just food that's actually designed to help you feel better and perform better. And, you know, a few brave souls believed us.
I remember it was it Alex? Was it Alex?
Absolutely.
I think,
So
yeah, he was one of them. He was
amazing,
raving about it.
absolutely. So, and that's it. So I think, you know, he summed it up because he got to the end of the race. So he basically bought our taster pack and used it exactly as I described it to him. So I think he might have even looked online that night at one of our nutrition guides. So he knew exactly how to use it because we explain it all. And he came bounding into the finish. He'd done, I think it was the half marathon, came bounding into the finish. And the first person he came to see was me. And I was standing there at, you know, at the middle stand. And he just couldn't believe it. He was so happy because it goes back to what I said at the start. He felt really good throughout because it basically fueled properly. So it fueled his brain, it fueled his muscles, it fueled his system. And he said, I've never felt so strong finishing a race. And he was absolutely about it. He was just so giddy. He was so happy.
Yeah. It was also the half marathon in particular was a phenomenal course. Shout out to David who created that. It was had everything in it. Yeah. So that coupled with good nutrition, he must have been on cloud nine, really.
Yeah, and I think, you know, look, for us, there's nothing magic about what we do. It's really well thought out and planned, and you know, we thoroughly research it. So, for example, we don't make sports gels because sports gels, they're like a syrup, and the issue with those is you have to have water with them. They can upset your stomach. Lots of people have lots of issues with sports gels. How, you know, they're a bit claggy, they need loads of water, you know, all sorts of. And I've got my own nightmare stories, you know, with having sports gels before in races and things. So we were determined not to just copy people. So it took us 2 years to develop. We've got our own version of like a hydrogel kind of sports jelly. But it took us 2 years. A lot
I'm a
of samples.
Big fan of your lime jelly. I think I mentioned to you I had that down in Cornwall when I was doing some coastal trail running there, and tastes great and it's really good on your stomach.
It's just, you know, so for us, that's it. I think you've got to have something. I think the key thing is you've got to have products that you look forward to consuming. And there's too many products out there that people say, oh yeah, well, you've got to do this, but it's just horrendous. Why, you know? And it's like, why are you even having that product? If you don't look forward to having it, A, you're not going to have it enough. And B, why are you doing something you don't enjoy? You know, you're running because you enjoy it. So at least take something you enjoy taking, and then you enjoy that and you enjoy the run more. And, you know, that's the kind of principle of what we do.
Makes total sense. And it's such a simple kind of way to look at it. But for whatever reason, maybe it's just at the lack of education around it, you know. So it is the brands that are advertising the most are just in people's heads. So they then just instinctively think, I'll get that, but they don't. It might not necessarily suit their body.
I think it's a multiple. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of it is that, you know, we don't have any big superstar kind of paid people to kind of promote our stuff. You know, a lot of it's word of mouth. Like our brand ambassadors, for example, you know, they get in touch with us and they say, you know, can do this. You may have a little crack with them, and obviously they've got to be a user first. They've got to love the product.
Yeah.
But our kind of response to them and say, oh yeah, what do you want me to do? Is like, well, just be yourself. That's what you got to do. Be yourself. If it's relevant to tag us into a post and explain why, do it. But there's no demand. There's no thing. It's got to be a natural thing. And
Keep it natural.
I think we've been really lucky because we've got a very loyal base of users. So you're always going to have people that are constantly trying to find new products because they're constantly trying to improve, and they think it's just down to, you know, if I have this magic seed, it's going to make me a better runner. If I have these magic shoes, I'm suddenly going to be a sub 3 hour. You know, there's always those people, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. You know, they can go and do that thing, but we're not really after those folk. We're after people that just, you know, want to take a product they enjoy taking, that they believe in it, they love the ethos, they love everything, you know, the kind of vibe we give off and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, they just want to enjoy what they do and how they do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Yeah, developing off that, I guess, what is your range? Can you share people the different types of products you have and their
Yeah.
use?
Yeah, right. I'll try and be as quick as I can. There's a few
There's
products.
quite a few. Yeah.
So we start off with like a night fuel. So this is like a hot chocolate type drink, and you have this the night before or even the night after, depending on the kind of activity. So it could be the night before a race, or it could be the night before an early morning training, or if you do a long commute to work and don't have time for breakfast again. So that basically feeds your system while you're asleep. And it has a kind of carbohydrate and protein mix in. The carbohydrate mix helps release serotonin and tryptophan to help you sleep. And that really is a fantastic addition to anybody's.
So is that a powder? Do you mix that?
Yes, you mix that with
Yeah.
water or milk, and
Cool.
and generally hot water or hot milk, make kind of hot chocolate.
Okay.
The next in the range, we call it morning fuel, but you can have this anytime. People have this during races, they have it before, afternoon, evening races, whatever. If you imagine that's morning fuel, that's basically a massive, not massive, but a big kind of bowl of oats that's been ground up. And in there, we've put flaxseed, we've also put some protein, and we've also got a carbohydrate mix. And that is basically designed to be kind of power packed, but actually very easy on the stomach. So you can mix that with like a little bit of water, whether it be hot or cold, again, with a little bit of milk or a milk substitute, hot or cold. Mix is very easy. You can either have it as like a kind of porridge type paste, or you can have it as like a shake. But again, that's brilliant for, especially for guys, say, for example, coming to do trail pursuits, they're coming to do, they've got an early start, they're maybe doing the ultra, early start, and you don't want to have snacks on your stomach. So something like that's brilliant. There's like 180 odd calories in there. So that's enough.
I guess it's more of a slow release as well. So it fills you up and it just keeps you going over time.
Absolutely. Because, having those kind of the gluten-free oats, the powdered, that really does just steady, kind of feed the system. And everything that we do, we kind of, especially when I'll come on to the drink stuff, when we're saying about how to use this stuff, it's about drip feeding the system, and then it just naturally, gently nourishes the muscles to keep you kind of energized. So after the morning fuel, we've got the kind of the drinks, we've got kind of 3 kind of carbohydrate and electrolyte drinks. They're different flavors. We've got blackcurrant, tropical, and like a raw flavor. So that's unflavored. So that's great when it's really hot, or some people actually, especially when it's warmer, you're going longer distances, that's quite a neutral flavor, so you don't get flavor fatigue. But the tropical and the blackcurrant are really, really nice. So, but they've kind of got added vitamins in as well. So it's not just carbohydrates and minerals. We've got added vitamins because you need to have vitamins to help with that energy production process. But equally, for your immune system, you want to replenish that so that when you're exhausted, when you're tired, when you're finished, you're not susceptible for picking up the guy next door to you who's been coughing and spluttering, getting his cold kind of stuff. So they work really, really well. So, and that's something that a lot of guys, so for example, John Alburn, who's just broken the OCC record out in the UTMB, who's the trail world champion, he basically took the raw with him, along with the jellies, and I'll come to those. So that's the energy fuels. Then we move on to the hydrogel jellies, like you said, the lime flavor that you like. And we basically use like a pectin. So we basically hydrate the pectin by drawing in the water, the carbohydrate. We've also got electrolytes in there. And that's the process that helps it pass through the stomach easier. So we've got folk, we've got IBD, IBS, those kind of stomach related issues, and they really struggle with normal sports nutrition, particularly things like gels, but can comfortably have these. So, for example, Sabrina Verjee, when she broke the Wainwright's record, she had over 100 of these during that time because they're easy on the stomach. They're not like a normal sports gel. So they're a kind of faster acting. So similar to sports gel in the sense of they are your faster acting. And then we've also got the Chia Gels, and these are more like a kind of food type paste. And these basically are a slower release. So they're like more of a food texture in your mouth, and they're a slow release. They work really well with the jellies. And I'll just touch on, this is our new kind of jelly. So these are typically 20 grams of carbs, and the new ones basically 30 grams of carbs, and we've got a caffeinated and non-caffeinated version. And we'll have these down at trail pursuit, or if people want to get them in advance to try, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's those. And then finally, got there in the end. Finally, we also have feel good bars. And these basically, they're a flapjack, but not your typical flapjack. A lot of flapjacks, when you're eating, when you're exercising, they become like sawdust in your mouth, or they're just so chewy and hard, it's really hard to chew.
Or you get massive spikes of sugar and then you have a bit of a crash.
Yeah, absolutely. And these, again, massive, tested these for a long time. And we basically came up with a concept. We use flaxseed, gluten-free oats, and coconut oil as the base. So we have a really calorific base to them, but because of the essential fats in there, it breaks down really easy in the mouth. So it's really easy to eat on the go. And again, we use kind of great flavors. We've got a double ginger, so that's brilliant. In fact, I got messages the other day about somebody doing a long run, really struggling with the stomach. They had the ginger bar and it just settled down the stomach, and then they were able to crack on again. So we have a ginger, we have a turmeric and orange, which is unusual, but seriously tasty, really good, and a double date, which is fantastic.
Awesome. That's a solid range. And how would you like, so say we're 4 weeks out now, so we've got beginner trail runners, we've got, intermediate, we might have some who are doing their first trail half marathon, but then we've obviously got the more advanced guys and girls who are doing the marathon and the ultra. So obviously you've got quite a range there. So what practical advice would you give someone who's going to be new to trying Mountain Fuel that they could kind of test in the run up to it, and then actually on race day, what would a half marathoner would you recommend having? Because obviously they wouldn't have one of everything. How do you pinpoint who needs what? Yeah,
first and foremost, what I would say is, and I think you're going to share these anyway, we'll give you some links to the various distances so that people can actually have a good read of the guides, and that'll give them an understanding of how to use the products, when to use the products. And then on top of that, if anybody wants to get in touch with us and ask us more specific questions, they can email us, Facebook or whatever. And we're actually, we're going to be there at the weekend anyway, so they'll also get an opportunity to talk to us then. But if I was doing the trail half marathon, for example, I'll be doing, as I said before, I'll be having a night fuel the night before. I'll be having the morning fuel for breakfast. Again, that's feeding me overnight. That's basically topping it up in the morning, but making sure I've not got stacks in my stomach. I would then basically, to make sure I'm hydrated, but also just topping up those energy levels as well, I would kind of partly sip one of the energy fuels. So I'd maybe have half to a full energy fuel. And that very much depends on how much effort you're going to be putting in. So if you feel you're really going to be racing it, and you really want to be pushing yourself, irrespective of the position you expect to finish, your personal desire as to how hard you're going to push it. If you're going to really push it, then I would have a full one before the race, about an hour or so before, because then when you're on the start line, that you're going to be starting strong. Your petrol tank's full, and all you've got to worry about is then just keeping it topped up as you go. Whereas if this is maybe your first ever trail half marathon, you want to, I would suggest that you don't push really hard. You just enjoy the journey. You go really steady. I would run at the pace that you can talk to somebody, because if you run at that pace, especially for at least the first half to 3/4, that means you're going to finish really strongly. And if it's your first run, there's nothing better than finishing a race with a massive sprint and a smile on your face. That
those feel good vibes. Yeah,
because that then gives you your kind of benchmark. Whereas if you kind of go out all out from the start and you kind of push too hard and it becomes a bit of a sufferfest and you struggle over the line, you kind of lose that momentum, that fun of completing it. And you look back with rose tinted glasses and say, I enjoyed that, but actually it was horrendous. Enjoy your first one, and then you can decide what kind of runner you want to be after that. So I would then, on the run itself, I would have one of these mixed up in my soft flask, and that would do me for a couple of hours. And I would maybe carry, and again, this very much depends on how long people are going to be out for. But what I would be doing is I would be regularly sipping on my drink, and then I would probably have a bar, and I would probably just maybe have a quarter of a bar every kind of half an hour, because you want little and often. And if you needed to and you felt like it, you'd maybe have a couple of jellies as a backup, and you might maybe, an hour in, have a jelly, 45 minutes later, have another one. But you've already been sipping on this, you've been getting some energy in from this, and you've been nibbling on that, and that's your slow release stuff. Whereas if you're going to be really, really pushing hard on that basis, you'd be having more of the jellies, and you'd be having them more often. Like, for example, like at the top end guys are really pushing hard. Those guys will be having a jelly, like a hydrogel, every 20, 25, 30 minutes. Like Don Alban has a timer on his watch. Every 20 minutes, bang, goes in his system, because he knows he wants to consume kind of anything from 60 to 80 grams of carbs an hour, depending on the effort he's putting in at that time. So I think the key message is little and often, and decide in advance, am I doing this to really enjoy the process, or am I really pushing hard?
Speed mode. Yeah, awesome. It's interesting to hear from it, because there is such a big range there, and obviously having it pre, post, during as well. It's
well, I forgot, and I forgot in all about the products, the recovery fuel. So we forgot that in the list earlier, and honestly, the difference between DOMs the following days is getting a recovery fuel as close to the finish as you can. You can mix it with water or milk. I personally, I carry a little cool bag, just a little cool bag. I take some milk with me. I've got my shaker. I've got this. As soon as I finish, first thing I do is I mix this up and I sip away on it, drink it. And then I just know that in the following day,
then it begins then. Yeah.
Absolutely. It starts that muscle replenishment, that muscle repair, and you feel so much better. And you know what? They are so bloody good. These are tasty.
I'm going to have to try one of those. Amazing. And so I guess for people who are going to be, runners who are going to be joining us, you're obviously going to be in the Sports Expo. Yep. You're also along the routes on the feed stations as well. So what are you looking forward to coming down and kind of meeting people?
Yeah, well, I just love hills. I just love being in amongst the hills. I live where I'm here now. I can actually see Skidder, so I'm in Keswick and Leeds. So being surrounded by hills and being surrounded by people who also love being in the hills, and even those people who've maybe never, this could be their first experience of running in the hills and on trails. And it's fantastic. And I think that what people have got to look forward to is an amazing weekend where we could be faced by who knows what kind of weather, and that's the other thing I love.
Pray to the weather gods. Yeah.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think everybody will be praying for it to be really dry. But do you know what? If it isn't, and it's wet, or even if it's a little bit wild, I love that. I think whatever the weekend throws at you, if you're dressed well and you fuel well, you'll absolutely love it, and you'll love it. If it's gorgeous weather, you're taking amazing photos, having a great experience. If it's epic weather, you've got bloody stories to tell over the dinner table for months. To me, it's just the whole experience. And actually, also look, we've had the past 2 years where we've barely seen events, so I just think it'd be fantastic having everybody together, everybody who shares a passion and a love for trail running, being there, being excited, seeing the crowds, and just enjoying the running.
Yeah, amazing. I completely agree and echo with everything you just said. And from the lakes a couple of months back, obviously end of May, it was stunning. There was just a moment when people arrived back from the races just elated, and the lawn was just full of good energy, and it was just a lot of proud, happy faces. So I'm similarly absolutely buzzing. 4-week countdown. Where can people find out more about Mountain Fuel? I know we're going to be including a nutritional guide that will be sent out. Where else can people find you?
So on the web, so we've got our website, so it's dead straightforward. It's www.mountainfuel.co.uk.
Okay.
We're also on Instagram and Twitter. Generally, Facebook and Instagram is our thing. And we love to share stories that people post with us. We love to give feedback, to have interaction. And like I said before, more than happy if people get in touch and have got questions about fueling, about nutrition, all those different things. Get in touch and ask us. We're more than happy to help. We're not a big corporate. We are fellow runners who love running, and we just want you to have a good experience.
Amazing. Well, yeah, let's finish on that note. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and showcasing your products. I know that people will be flying over to your stand and then also seeing you at the feed station. So we will see you in 4 weeks.
Brilliant. Super.
Cool.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers, Rupert.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.